If you want to be well liked by others, don't set out to make yourself liked. You will only be thinking of yourself that way. Instead, develop a sincere and genuine interest in other people, and being liked will follow naturally. But wait, there's more. I have two this week because that was so short. This one is very short. It says, people who like people are people that people like. I kind of resisted the urge to sing people who like people.
You're telling on
It's,
yourself.
yeah, I'm telling that I know Barbara Streisand, right? That was who sang that?
I think so. I don't know.
Welcome to Looking Up. This is today a crazy podcast for Christian women. Maybe not crazy, just fun. We're just going to have fun today. This is a podcast for Christian women. My name is Carla Moore, and with me is Kathy Pollard. We are co-hosts of this weekly podcast, and we just get together and we chat about things that are important and interesting to us with regard to Christianity, with being regard to friendship, being mothers, being wives, a lot of things that apply to a lot of people. And we're glad that you've joined us. We thank you for being with us every week. We appreciate you so much. Kathy and I have not chatted one single bit in more than a week. So we didn't even spend any time pre-chatting before our chit chat. So how are you? How was your week in Ypsilanti?
Yes,
Did I say
Ypsilanti.
it right?
You did.
Michigan?
Yeah, they told us, we learned that the nickname for Ypsilanti is Ypsitucky
Okay.
because there's a GMC plant up there, and a lot of people from Kentucky actually moved up there to work that plant. So there you go.
All right.
But yeah, we drove up there and we just got back last night. It was a great week. I feel like tons of things have happened since the last time you and I have chatted.
All right. We'll spill the tea.
Well, first of all, last Friday morning, Neil and I were drinking our coffee, our first cup of coffee of the day, and somebody knocked on our front door. Some girl that we had never seen before. We could see her in the Ring doorbell. And she said, I think your cow is in our yard.
Uh-oh. Not good
So,
news.
as I've shared on here before, Peaches has escaped a couple of times before, but she's never left our property and she's never done it in the middle of the night. Well, to make a long story short, it ended up kicking off a 2 hour fiasco of us trying to get her back home. And this Neil just took off right away. I changed clothes and put on tennis shoes. Well, Neil forgot his phone. So I didn't know where he went. And I didn't recognize this neighbor. So anyway, I ended up walking up and down Motley Lane, looking in everybody's yards and things like that. I walked all over our property. I looked in the properties connected to our property. I couldn't find anything. I ended up getting in my car. I thought, well, maybe she went a little further than that. I even drove up and down Cemetery Road, still couldn't find it. And then I'm thinking, I don't know what to do anymore. And so I was knocking on strangers' doors. Is my cow in your yard by any chance? And
Random question.
I took a screenshot of that girl on my Ring doorbell and sent it to this neighbor over here because she knows everybody. And I was like, do
Mm-hmm.
you recognize this girl? Do you know where she lives? She didn't know who she was. Turns out she lives on Cemetery Road, like a good bit from here.
Peaches went on a
And
hike.
yeah, Peaches must have escaped because she doesn't walk with a purpose. She ambles along while
Mm-hmm.
she's eating grass. So she must have escaped pretty early on in the middle of the night. And so anyway, Neil finally got her back home. And the
How?
next,
Like
well,
walking her?
he didn't grab his phone, but he did grab a bin full of grain. And so it was very tedious. This girl, see, I thought she had walked here, but she came in a golf cart.
Mm.
And so he hopped on the golf cart, went back to her place, and then spent that whole 2 hours trying to lure Peaches because he didn't grab a rope or anything, a lead, nothing. He just grabbed the grain. And so he spent that 2 hours trying to lure her all the way back to our property, through the woods, through people's yards, crossing a road.
I wish I wish I had some footage of that.
And I have to admit, when he finally got back home, we both looked at each other and said, maybe we're in over our heads. Maybe this is not for it. And like we had that moment of, we're done. This
Yeah.
cannot happen again. Somebody could have
Is
been
it the
hurt.
same spot that she's getting out every time, or is she getting out different spots?
No, no, this time the electric wire actually broke.
Oh,
It almost looks like somebody snipped it, but that didn't happen. It literally just broke and the whole line on one side of the property just dropped.
Mm.
So she just walked straight out.
Mm-hmm.
But the next day, Ray, my mom's husband, came over and he and Neil worked on that fence, and it is hotter than ever. Neil tested it out and it was so hot he like injured his back when he got shot. So I said, I've never been so happy that you got hurt.
Wait, how did he injure his back? Like he jumped or
I
twitched
think
or
he
something?
must have jerked back so, like sudden that he pulled a back muscle. I don't know what. He was like, somehow it is so hot, I hurt my back in the process.
Isn't there
So,
a better way of testing that?
so
I mean,
that was Friday. Later that day, we drove to Columbia to get the oil changed on the car. And as we were coming back, this sudden severe storm came out of nowhere and on this country road. The rain came down so hard we couldn't see. And then twice trying to get back, the road was blocked by an entire tree had
oh,
fallen down
wow.
and landed across the road. And both times, it was kind of backing up traffic. Well, some people just happened to have a chainsaw or whatever. Men were getting out and walking over there and working on the tree, moving out of the way. We'd go through, there's another one, did the same thing. We went through, a barn came down.
What?
And so it had already been cleared, but there was like the metal siding of the barn stacked up on both sides of the road. I mean, it was just freaky. It was like
Must
out of
have been a
nowhere.
mini twister.
Well, then there was a double rainbow, and it just happened to end on the road in front of us, and we drove through it.
Did you
So,
feel anything?
no. And nor was there a pot of gold, by
Did
the
you
way.
say
So,
anything in Irish? Did you eat
no,
any Lucky Charms?
no. And okay, so that was Friday. Peaches escaped. Crazy storm happens. Saturday, I'm weeding this front flower bed and it's getting pretty gnarly. I mean, we have had so much humidity that it's like the little shop of horrors around here with vines growing everywhere. So I'm weeding this front flower bed. A wasp stung me on my hip. I haven't been stung by anything since I was 15.
What
And
kind
it
of
hurt.
wasp?
I
Like a
don't know. It
red wasp?
hurt. All I know is there was this really sharp pain, and I went, ah! And I started smacking and pulling my shirt up, and a wasp flew away. And I ran to Neil, and I was like, ah, I got stung. It hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. It like wailing, and I go inside and I'm washing it off and trying to put it hurt so bad. And it took a lot of courage for me a few minutes later to get back out there because
Mhm.
now I'm scared. I mean, wasps, they're everywhere and they have never bothered me. So I decided to work on the opposite side of the flower bed. I'm telling you, not 2 minutes in, I disturbed a yellow
Oh
jacket
boy.
nest. They
Oh,
swarmed me. They
those suckers are
swarmed
mean.
me, and I got stung by at least three of them. I can't remember.
Oh
It may have been
man.
four. On my wrist, on this arm, on my thigh. I mean, they just came up and landed. So I'm like going, ah! I take off running. I'm like stripping my clothes off while I'm Neil went out later to bring in my stuff. He found one of my gloves like out in the yard and another one in a different flower bed where I just started flinging things and I at that point I was like, you know what? Weeds, you can have it. I am done. I am. And so it was just one of those weekends where I was like, country life stinks. Take me back to the city. Give me a condo where somebody else does your yard work for you.
Wow.
Yes. It was
Goodness.
terrible. Yeah. So I went from seriously not having anything sting me in how many years is that? Like over 30 years.
And you're outside all the time.
Yes. Yeah. So it was as far as homesteading goes, it was a very interesting weekend. So,
It's like, are you sure about this?
of course, after we, calmed down and we got the fence fixed, we're like, haha, we're fine. but,
Hmm.
but in the moment, it wasn't good.
Well, I do look forward to the fall and winter months for the fact that there aren't wasps flying around. We just last night killed, well, I say we. I reported it to John and he killed it, but right above our bedroom window on the far
Oh.
side of the house, I was out there with my Japanese weed thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
killing stickers, and I tend to freak out when I hear one of those, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Ooh," and running, and I make a fool out of myself. And I've always told my family if I ever like die in an unexplained car accident, it's because there's a wasp inside the
In the
car
car.
and I lose my mind. I do lose my mind when those things come
Uh,
around. Anyway, right above our window, there's the eave of the house and it was crawling. I mean, an area about 15 inches square with red wasps.
oh,
And I mean, right now, it makes the hair on my arm stand up because
yeah.
those things are so, oh, I hate those things.
Mhm.
And I was right underneath it, hacking away at the stickers, and one of them just dive bombed me, and I probably make myself an even bigger target by jumping and running whenever I hear that noise. I need that tennis racket thing that
Does
you
that work?
recommended, but I'm even
Yes.
scared to use that. I mean, I don't want to get even that close to any kind of bug. Like, what if I miss? But anyway, John
Um,
handled it. He said they were all over the place. But well,
Shoo-wee.
you had
Yeah.
an interesting weekend,
Well,
pre-weekend.
I thought about you because I've heard you say on here before that pretty much any flying thing gives you the willies, and I thought you're such a chicken baby. We have bees and wasps all over the place. It never bothers me. They just leave me alone. And I thought about you because I'm like terrified now. I have huge
Yeah.
respect. In fact, 10 minutes later, about 10 minutes later, Neil went out there to go get my stuff for me, and I'm peeking my head out the door, just kind of looking. The yellow jackets were still swarming. Like they were just in that one place. They were just like flying and flying all over. And I'm going,
Mm-hmm.
come back inside. Just leave all that stuff out there. Who cares? Come back. And he goes, it's fine. And I'm going,
Yeah.
just terrified.
Yeah.
So,
Anything flying that stings.
oh
But
man.
sometimes you don't know if they sting. Even the like dirt daubers that mom always would say, there's no stinger. Well, they look like they have a stinger, and that's good enough for me
Yeah.
or bad enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of
Well,
spiders. I mean, I get outside and dig around and wood piles with my gloves on, and there's spiders and snakes and stuff. And
mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a healthy respect for them, but flying, stinging insects, no, thank you.
Yes, we are about to wage war because I'm going to invest in like 6 cans of wasp killer or something.
Well, you're
And
supposed to wait for like dusk because that's when they all return home to the
oh,
nest.
did not
But
know that.
yeah, if you do it, I mean, you can kill them ahead of time, but they're just going to keep coming back. But if you wait until like
Hmm,
twilight hour, that's when they're all supposed to be home.
good
Their
tip.
mom calls them for dinner.
Be home before dark.
Well, you had quite the eventful couple of days.
I did. I did. I'll tell you about our trip after you talk for a little while.
I don't have a whole lot of interesting things to report. We did make a real quick trip down to Katy for Grandparent Day, which was fun because
Oh,
well, Aaron had asked a couple weeks ago. They've got the three kids now, and Jordan had an elders meeting on Monday night, and Emmy had Katy Cowgirls, and Jackson had baseball practice, and Clara she's the ballpark baby. But they couldn't figure out how to do all of the get here when they needed to get there, and this person here and all that. Anyway, we went down Monday
mm,
night, and then Tuesday afternoon they had a little grandparent day thing. So we got to go to their school and
that's
meet
sweet.
their teachers and we got our picture made with them and under this little grandparent arch with Lewis and Pam, or Aaron's parents. They were there too. So that was fun. It was really interesting to see the difference between girls and boys again, because we went in Jackson's classroom and he like tapped on a table. He said, "That's where I sit." And he was done. He's like, "Let's go." And then Emmy, we went to her classroom and she pulls out her basket and there's like 5 folders and she goes through each paper in her folder and explains the whole thing. And, it's just one of those differences between girls and
Yeah,
boys. I mean, not just girls and boys, kids,
yeah.
they have different likes and stuff. But anyway, it was fun to see them and in their and now I know how to picture them during the day when they're at school, their little
Yeah.
classrooms and stuff. But other than that, we I've just been helping with taking care of mom and running, cleaning out this office because John's, you can't see it. And I'll send you a picture later. I know I sent you one last week of my chaos. And it's not chaos anymore. I've got it all cleaned out. We cleaned out the closet. It's that place, everybody has one of those in their house where
Hmm.
you just shove it because there's a door and you can close the door. And it
Exactly.
was piled with tubs and bins and boxes and baskets and papers. And so I went through all of that and basically just rearranged it, but it looks more organized now.
So
So
you're basically doing some spring cleaning in the fall.
yeah,
That's got to feel good.
it does. Yeah, I've made some trips to Goodwill and just done some rearranging, so it feels good. But
Instead of thrifting, you're donating.
yeah, it is funny when you go back to Goodwill after you've donated something and you pick something up and you go, "Oh, that's cute," and realize I just donated that to Goodwill. Yeah, it's cute because I picked it out, but I also chose to give it back away.
We stopped at an antique store. It's like the ginormous, over 500 booths kind of a antique store. But in one of them, we saw this bowl, and Neil stopped because he recognized it as one that we used to have when we were first married. It's like a big, shallow pasta bowl with this kind of little Italian scene in the middle of it. We both were, feeling all sentimental and stuff. We ended up going back later and buying it. And I thought, this is hilarious because we already gave this away once.
Yeah.
And now, years later, we're only buying it because it reminds us that we used to have it. So this makes no sense at all. But
It
it
gave you
came
the
home with
feels.
us. It did. It came home with us.
Yeah. Was it in Michigan or there? Because
It
y'all
was,
have
we
one
were
there in Bowling
actually,
Green that's really
we,
amazing.
yes, this one was in Indiana.
Oh,
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was funny, but
okay.
so, okay, our trip. We went to Ypsilanti, Michigan, and the meeting there was great. The people were really friendly and stuff. Probably one of the best parts about it was I got to meet some ladies that listen to the podcast. And so getting to meet them in person. And my favorite thing is they all say the same thing. They always say, I feel like we're friends already. And I love that because that's been what we've wanted from the beginning.
Exactly.
We just want to feel like we're all just visiting together and sharing life together and encouraging each other to look up. So
did anybody say we talk back to you? Because I've had a lot of
I
people
did
that
not.
say.
Yeah, I didn't hear that this time. But some of the names I remember: Mia Jones, Donna Grant, Lisa Harris, and Lisa actually gave me a gift. It's this book called Jane Austen's Table. Isn't that
That looks
pretty?
like you. That's beautiful.
That's what she said, and it's got recipes in there and colored pictures and Jane Austen-y things.
Oh,
but
sweet.
in her note, she also mentioned you. So she just says that you, Carla, and looking up have been a great encouragement to me. So very sweet. It's always fun when that happens. But another neat thing that we got to do is we've shared on here before about Life in Favor, Neil's book, that kind of thing. Well, the printer that we use is less than 30 minutes from Ypsilanti. It's in Chelsea, Michigan. So
did you know that before you went up there?
We did. We did. And we were planning on at the end of the meeting going by anyway. But while we were up there, I think it was on Tuesday, they contacted Neil and said that his cover proof was ready and they were going to ship it to us. Well, Neil was like, we'll just come get it. And so we were able to go see the actual facility, which I think is pretty great that we get to see where the books are being printed. And we got to bring home the cover. So this
nice.
It does not look nice.
That needs to be framed and hung.
Yeah. So Dale, that's Dale's artwork and Janelle. That's awesome. And that's the back of it right there. Looks really good.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. So we got to kind of sign off on the proof and meet. We have a case manager now. And so she wasn't in that day, but her assistant was. So we got to meet her and talk with her for a little while. But she said, Neil has another meeting about an hour away the same time next year. And that if we schedule it ahead of time, we can tour the whole facility, like where the actual printing takes place. And
what's the name of the place?
Sheridan.
Sheridan, like publications or something? Printing.
Sheridan Books or Sheridan. And they had a lot of different products there on display of different, they do hardbacks. They even do like comics, they do like coloring books. They do hardbacks where the printing or design is on the hardback itself instead of a paper jacket. They do both kinds. Lots of different things, lots of different options that you can do with that company. So cool. That was fun. And then while we were in Chelsea, we discovered it's an adorable little town. They have the cutest little main street with the cutest little gift shops and eateries. We ate at a place called Zuzu's. And I had a BLT on focaccia bread that was out of this world. We did not Weight Watchers the past few days, by the way.
Well, you enjoyed it.
But There's also the Jiffy. Did you ever use like Jiffy cornbread mix
Still
or
do.
Jiffy muffin mix? Well, that factory is there, and you
Mm.
can go in and order. So right before they closed, we ran in there and we were like, just give us two of everything. And so we ended up coming home with this case. And I don't know why we did that because we're on Weight Watchers, but we have two of everything that they make.
And they make quite a few things.
They do. It was just kind of fun to go in there, and
Mm.
so that was one of the things. And then on Wednesday, this is the last thing I'll share because I know we want to actually do a podcast. But on Wednesday, Neil and I decided we would go walk at the park. And there's this little place called Heritage Park in Canton, Michigan. We ended up doing a 7 mile walk.
Wow.
And we walked for 2 hours doing a 7 mile. Now, we didn't intend to.
To get lost.
We did. We intended, in my mind, we were going to walk for like 45 minutes. We had a lunch date. We were supposed to be meeting somebody. And so we got a little turned around, which we didn't expect because there were little like posts everywhere saying you're on this loop or you're on this trail or whatever. We got so turned around and we kept pulling up our phone, like doing the find your car thing. And it was crazy. So anyway, it ended up being a 7 mile, and we were booking it. Like we kept a good pace the whole time. 7 mile walk. And Neil has a Strava app because he's a runner and he records his runs on the
Mm-hmm.
Strava app. Well, the Strava app ended up saying, congratulations on participating in the September 10K challenge. And Neil was like, thanks. It was completely accidental, but so we did more than a 10K.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it like in the woods?
It's woodsy, but there's a lot of like little streams and things and footbridges. It's a beautiful path. It's a beautiful park, but it
Mm-hmm.
is back in the woods. And we saw maybe two people. We kept seeing the same guy.
Stalking you.
We felt a little, yeah, I was like, I've seen this movie. so, so anyway, that 7 mile walk did not make up for all the eating that we did, as the scales informed me this morning. So there was that.
Whatever. I'm
Whatever.
glad you enjoyed yourself.
We did. We had a good time. It's
That
good to be
Jiffy
home, though.
makes me think of Jordan and Jacob. One of them liked cornbread that was not sweet, like the kind that I do in
Mm-hmm.
my black cast iron skillet with a little bacon grease. And then the other one likes sweet cornbread with sugar added, and the Jiffy mix is what I would use. And so I would alternate, and I could never remember, okay, whose turn is it to have the sweet cornbread or the regular cornbread? But every time I see a Jiffy box, it makes me think of them and how they would argue about it's my turn, it's my turn. Not that I made cornbread that often, but memories.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used Jiffy a lot when the boys were growing up. I had a little iron skillet that I used pretty much just for cornbread. And we don't get to enjoy it as much now, but that it's just the two of us, but
Well, it's
I like
almost
it.
cornbread season again. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
cornbread is year round, but I think of that with stew and
Yeah.
soups and things like that.
I
So
used to warm up leftover cornbread and put milk and sugar on it.
I think my father-in-law used to do that. Pour
Mm-hmm.
milk over bread and toast, which
Yeah.
no thanks.
Yeah. I know
Wet
some
bread.
some people do buttermilk over cornbread. I never did
Oh,
that, but milk and
yeah.
sugar on it's
I'll
good.
pour soup over it, like
Yeah.
vegetable stew, and then
Mhm.
I like that. But anyway, well, sounds like you had an eventful week.
We did. It was a good week.
Good. I'm glad.
Mhm. Thanks.
Well, are we ready to jump into our
Sure. I know we
non-topic?
have a serious discussion for today. So
Yes, everyone
hit
needs to
me
prepare themselves.
hit me with it. You're driving.
All right, we are going to do table topics again because we enjoyed it so much last time. And, it led to some serious discussion. It also led to some lighthearted things as well. And we just thought today would be a good day to just kind of have some fun. So that's what we're going to do. Table topics. If you did not listen the last time we did this, sorry, I've got a frog today. It's a game, basically. Conversation starters. They look like this if you're watching. They come in a cube, a little plastic cube that's about, I don't know, 5 inches square. And we just leave them sitting on our table when we have, sometimes just John and I do them, but when we have company, we'll just pull a few out. Sometimes there are a few maybe inappropriate ones, and they're all different kinds. They have they have table topics for couples, table topics for families, for date night, stuff like that. But anyway, we just recycle them over and over. And in all disclosure, full disclosure here, I did not go back and listen to the last table topic episode. So I'm hoping that I didn't pick some of the same ones. So if I read one that sounds vaguely familiar, just give me the signal and say pass.
Yeah.
But some of them are funny and some of them are serious. So I'm going to start with one that you may not be prepared for.
I'm not prepared for any of them. Last time you kind of gave me a heads up on a couple of them, but not so this time. Yeah.
No. Okay. I'm just going to give it to you.
Okay.
Knowing that you're going to give it back to me and I'm not quite prepared for it myself. What was your most embarrassing moment?
Oh. I mean, there have been quite a few. I just had one. All right. Listen to this. In the meeting, this gospel meeting that we were just at. What day is this? Okay. So the last night of the meeting, this lady went forward. And, Neil kind of met with her for a little bit, and one of their elders came up and sat with her. We're still singing the verses of the invitation song. And then I thought, well, I don't want her up there. I was sitting close to the front. I don't want her up there by herself. And so I waited for the men to leave. And then I walked up to the front to sit by her. Well, but she stood up and started walking away. So she
chased her down.
I did. So because then I'm already in front of the congregation at the front pew. And she walked around and started making her way to the back. So I just like going, I could feel my cheeks getting hot. Great. So then I start walking, I'm following her down the aisle and I kind of tap her on the shoulder and she looks startled. And I said, I just want to give you a hug, and I hugged her and she was like, oh. And I said, well, I didn't want you to sit up there by yourself. So I was going to go sit by you. And she was like, oh, it's okay. And then I just went back. Well, then I couldn't really easily get to my pew without walking in front of everybody again. So I sat in a different pew until services were over. Well, then one of their members came up to me afterwards and said, this lady has a condition where she doesn't like to be touched.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And that, she had even come to one of their ladies' Bible classes and they had to make sure everybody's chairs were like 4 feet away so she'd be comfortable. And I'm like, I said, I literally just chased her down the aisle and hugged her.
How did she react? I mean, did she
didn't
hug you back?
I mean, she didn't like jump back or anything. I don't guess she hugged me back, but she didn't act like I invaded her space. But anyway, that was a pretty embarrassing moment.
Well, extra kudos to her for doing that. Because
yes. Yeah. And also, maybe when you don't know a congregation or a person, stay in your pew.
Stay in your lane.
That's right.
All right. Well, next question.
Wait a second. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Your turn.
I can tell you later the most embarrassing moment. Actually, I think I have told you before.
Okay, second. Yeah, I probably know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Second most embarrassing one.
Okay. This one I have told you before too, and it's semi-private, but it's still, I mean, this is an audience of women, and even so, if you're a man, just turn it off, okay? So I was talking to this friend of the male persuasion at worship one day, and I don't necessarily think that he noticed, but maybe he did, and he pretended not to, or was just nice enough. I don't know. He may have gone home and told his wife. I do not know what just happened. So after we finished talking, I looked down and there's a certain wire that had worked its way out of where it was supposed to stay.
It was no longer under.
It was no longer under, but it had curved up and it had poked its way out of my sweater.
It was waving.
I don't know if it was waving. It was just standing. And it felt slightly like, Michael Jackson's microphone, or, maybe even a preacher microphone, because it was pointed right at my mouth. And I didn't notice it until we'd finished our conversation. So that was a pretty embarrassing moment.
Yeah,
And we
I
will
thought
just leave
that's
it
what
at
I
that.
thought of when you said your most embarrassing moment. So now you're gonna have to remind me later what your most embarrassing one is.
Yeah, well, it was that same person, ironically. And it was several years earlier. And
Oh
yeah,
no.
this one was way, way, way more embarrassing.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, I'll tell you about it
That's
later.
a good one.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
Next question. If you could give all human beings one virtue, which would you choose?
That's a good one. Hmm.
And think about virtues being character traits or
Yeah. I I guess integrity.
that
Because
would cover a lot of
wouldn't that
different.
kind of
Mhm.
yeah, wouldn't that kind of control your behavior toward others as far as your fairness and honesty and treating others the way you want to be treated and
Yeah.
mm,
Okay.
yeah.
Integrity.
Yeah. How about you?
I was thinking truthfulness or not the inability to tell a lie because dishonesty tends to be what messes up so
Mhm.
many different situations and people and lives.
Yeah.
But that I think,
Sounds like we were thinking along the same lines.
yeah, that kind of
Hmm.
question is something you kind of have to ruminate on and think about for a long
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the hardest thing you've ever done?
Well, I was weeding in my flower bed this weekend.
Going back outside after that happened.
um, well, if we're going to be for serious, it would probably be facing somebody who learned some disappointing news about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go
Knowing,
to them face to
yeah,
face or something.
yes, knowing I hurt them and disappointed them and, facing the music, if you will,
Yeah.
that's a pretty hard thing to do.
Well, did you, I'm sure you felt better on the other side of it, but
Yeah, I mean, it didn't necessarily change anything, but
mhm.
I knew it was the right thing to do.
Well, it strengthened your character, I'm sure.
I hope so.
Yeah. The mine's kind of similar. Mine, I don't know if it was necessarily the hardest thing, but it's what comes to mind. Some of these, you can't really, you have to have some time to think about, but that's not the object
Mhm.
of the game, quote game. But um, I made a public confession one time that was something that weighed on me for years. And it wasn't necessarily a public sin, but it was something that I felt like I needed to say something publicly about just for accountability's sake, I guess, more than anything else. So, but
Mhm.
when, coming out on the other side of that, when you see so many people coming to you and loving on you and telling you that they'll be praying for you and that you've encouraged them. So, it does what God says it's going to do.
Mhm.
And so that's probably
That's
mine.
mhm.
Okay. Who would you like to trade places with for 1 month? Guess the answer could be nobody.
Who would I like to trade places with? Uh, I don't know. I can't think of anybody.
You can't pass. Okay, let's maybe
Um,
rephrase it like what lifestyle or whose lifestyle would you like to try out for a month?
okay. An archaeologist,
Okay. Where?
Israel.
Okay. Specifically somewhere.
Hmm. Hmm. No, that's as specific as I can get.
I mean, if you could choose anywhere in Israel and
uh,
just go on an archaeological dig, I think I would like to be somewhere around the Temple Mount.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Or
Okay.
maybe the groundskeeper of a really beautiful English garden outside of this old stone home or something.
With no wasps.
That's right, no wasps. It's already well cared for. I'm just maintaining.
Okay. All right. I
How
can
about
see
you?
you doing that. I don't know. I think that I probably can't do, I'm sure, an hour from now I'll think, oh, why didn't I say that?
Hmm.
But I think it would be kind of fun to see how the Queen or the King of England, now I was thinking of the Queen, Queen Elizabeth, what her
Hmm.
life was like on a daily basis, like 20 years ago, before she got to be a little bit older. I think it'd be interesting to see um what, do they wake her up, bring her breakfast, what kind of routine does she go through? Is she briefed by people? She goes to all these different events. What is her
Hmm.
personal life like with her family? I've watched The Crown, so I have that kind of idea in my mind what her daily life is like, but that's a work of fiction, so who knows? But I think that'd be kind of interesting.
Doesn't John treat you like a queen every day?
Absolutely.
All right, then. Now you
But
know.
there's no crown,
There could be.
no crown jewels.
You want me to text him?
I'm sure you'll get right on that. Okay, that's my answer.
Okay, good one.
Okay, when you are down, what do you do to feel better?
I play music, I pray, read Psalms, talk to Neil.
Hmm.
Not necessarily all in that order, but those
Yeah,
are some of the things that come to mind.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And you?
Um, music is always, but music is always a part anyway. You
Mhm.
you have said that you like to have silence and quiet sometimes, but
Mhm.
I tend to have music playing all the time. Um, I know that when I feel bad, exercise makes me feel better. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes you can't, if you're really sick, you can't do that, but a headache or something like that, usually I can get rid of a headache by exercising, which is weird. Um, talk to friends, pray, of course, but usually it involves getting out of my own head and
Mhm.
doing something for somebody else or thinking about somebody else instead of myself. So
Mhm.
I think that would be my answer.
Yeah, and I've noticed that if I get upset with Neil over something, in my mind, I've blown it into this huge thing. And then usually, life goes on and you get involved and you're doing something. And it's amazing how when you are thinking about other people or, just in whatever's coming up next, usually involves other people.
Hmm.
All of a sudden you look back and you feel kind of sheepish because whatever
Hmm.
had you so peeved is so petty, and you're
Yeah.
looking back going, why do I do that? Why do I waste the beauty of the day by getting caught up in
Hmm.
something so petty when
Hmm. Oh, it happens to
this
me
is
all the
what
time.
life is really about. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, next question. In what era would you most like to have grown up?
Hmm. Let's see. I'm gonna say the 50s.
I
I don't know. I'm probably idealizing it, but they'd already experienced a couple of wars and kind of learned, like recent, fresh enough history to maintain some of those lessons and appreciate some things. And women seemingly dressed a little more feminine, and there seemed to be an emphasis on homemaking. And
mhm.
I don't know. That's just first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah, I've thought that before because, I see my mom's pictures. In fact, I've gone through a bunch of them recently from the 50s. She graduated high school in 58. So
Mhm.
she grew up smack in the middle of the 50s. And
Mhm.
I think about the soda fountain and the bobby socks and the poodle
Mhm.
skirts and all of those things that's what you think of with the 50s. But
Mhm.
I think that would have been a fun time. Innocence, I guess. There seemed to
Yeah.
be like more innocence in life.
Yeah. Probably not, but
Yeah, because every generation has
every
their
generation.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the I don't know that I would want to grow up because I'm sure it was a very tough time, but the era of Laura Ingalls Wilder when she was a little girl, and I know,
Mhm.
man, I think to myself, I have running water, I have toilet, I have, the ability to whatever I need, I have it. And they had to go make it or find it or grow it or harvest it or whatever. But yet it just seemed like a simpler and purer life than what we have now and with less distractions. But so I don't know if I would like to have grown up in it. Maybe that's the one that I would like to visit. Maybe that was my answer. That's my answer to who would you like to trade places with for 1 month? Would be Laura White, Laura Ingalls,
Yeah.
and not in the winter, not in the middle of the long winter, but
No hardship involved. Just
oh, I don't want to do the hard stuff.
on a fair day.
Yes. Is that too much to ask?
When it's mild and sunny.
Yeah.
And
But
there's
wouldn't
no
it?
wasps.
There will be no wasps in heaven for sure. What I mean, that's Satan's fault.
Yes.
Just the same thing of stickers.
He is a wasp.
Yeah. He's a red wasp. Okay. It would have been cool to grow up in the era of Jesus, though, too. Just to see those things going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if cool is the right word, but it would have been interesting. Did I say cool? Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. It is September. What one goal do you hope to accomplish this year?
Well, mine is petty, but I'm trying to reach a certain weight by the end of the year with Weight Watchers. And as I think back to January and some of my other goals that I laid out, I don't know that I've touched any of them. Not true. There is one that I haven't shared with anybody that I'm sort of working on, but I didn't get as far along as I'd wanted. And then there's one that I also wanted to paint the house finally. We haven't done a single wall. So
that's a big job. Maybe you should wish to paint one room.
I should have said a room and then I could have accomplished it. But yeah, now I'm like,
or maybe say it's your goal to have someone else paint one room. Someone else that you don't have to pay. Neil.
Yeah.
Christy.
Hey, yeah.
She likes to paint, doesn't she?
How about you?
I think probably finish organizing and cleaning out and not downsizing, decluttering some more. I would like to finish that. We've kind of been working on it all year, but then things keep happening, like mom moving. And so I'm accumulating some of her things. And so I've been trying to, every time I bring something in, to take something out, but it doesn't always happen, of course.
Yeah. We ran across a little library. The meeting was in Ypsilanti, Michigan, but we actually stayed in Belleville, which was right next door. And there was a cute little charming town, and they had this sweet little library, and they had the book sale out front. We brought home a ton of books, a ton of books. Thankfully, most of them are just going to fit right in the library, and some of them were for the grandkids, but some of them were some more cookbooks that I don't need. Because I just purged those, and then I brought home a bunch more. So,
well, books don't count, I think.
I don't think they do either.
Yeah.
Or dishes.
Okay. Next question. Would you prefer money for a housekeeper, a cook, a gardener, or a personal secretary?
Housekeeper.
Me too.
For sure.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Would it be weekly, monthly, daily?
I'm okay with weekly.
Yeah.
If it was monthly, I'd give her the baseboard, ceiling fans, blinds, windows, things like that. But if it was weekly, go ahead and take the toilets and showers too.
You clean your shower every week?
No, that's why I need a housekeeper.
I was gonna say, I can't really remember the last time I thoroughly cleaned my shower. I spray it down with that daily stuff.
I spray. Yeah, I do a lot of spraying.
I'm not sure that it works, but it makes me feel better about myself. Yeah, that one was an easy one for me. Because, we both enjoy cooking, although I don't cook very well anymore. You're a gardener yourself. I don't really need a personal secretary. I need John to have a personal secretary so that I can quit being his personal secretary.
John
He's
has
so,
a personal secretary.
yeah, he's so nice about the way he says things. Like last night, right before he drifted off to sleep, he said, "Did you send that email today?" And I was like, oh, no,
Oops.
I didn't send that email today. But he says it so nicely. He could say something like, "I can't believe you didn't send that email," because I'm pretty sure he knew I hadn't. But
Yeah.
that was his way of saying, "Would you please send
I
out that
mean,
email?"
he also could have said something before you got in bed. So there's that.
He's also the master at saying, I wonder what it would taste like if we had some ketchup on this."
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I wonder too, but not bad enough to get up and get it.
Uh,
Okay, next question. What is the best way to spend a rainy weekend?
you mean with no plans?
Hmm. Yeah, if you don't have anywhere to be
Oh, that would be glorious. It would involve a lot of reading and baking and hot tea.
and you don't have any due dates and you don't have any
No, yeah,
responsibilities.
right. Some kind of writing that I want to do and sweats and fuzzy socks.
Yeah, and it's chilly outside and you're warm
Yeah.
inside, right?
Does it say something that I didn't mention any people in that scenario?
Well, I think when we spend a lot of time around people, you tend to kind of want some recharging time.
Mhm. How about you?
I think mine would be pretty similar. I would be inside baking. I don't know what it is about rainy weekend or
Oh yeah.
weekdays. You just want to bake cookies.
Light a candle.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, Probably turn on like an old movie, something like The Sound of Music or Seven Brides for Seven Brothers or Camelot, something like that with good music in it. Probably wouldn't watch it, but I'd listen to it.
Hmm.
There would be reading.
Hmm.
So yeah, let's see if we can arrange one of those pretty soon.
Yeah.
Okay. I pulled this one out just because it made me think of you and made me laugh. If you could rename yourself, what name would you choose? You would just choose your real name, not your
Yes.
name that everybody calls you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was not one for me because I didn't even think about that for me. Okay. Which moment from your life would you choose to relive if you could?
Oh, I've said this on here before, but our entire first year of marriage.
Yeah. This may be one that I asked before. I can't remember.
I don't know that you asked it before, or we just talked about it recently, but I just feel like I could have handled things a lot better,
Okay.
way
This is
better.
which moment?
That's a big moment.
A year-long moment?
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
those terms don't mean what you think they mean.
That's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. I would like to, I'm pretty sure I asked this one before, but oh well. I think I would like to just relive our wedding because it's such a blur in my memory.
Yeah, I don't remember very much either.
I really don't remember much of it at all. Of course, it was
Mhm.
38, almost 39 years ago, but
Mhm.
okay. I know we need to wrap up pretty quick. What are the most important qualities you look for in friends?
Um, Genuineness, or I guess authenticity is the better word for that. Somebody who accepts me the way I am. Um, you find a valuable friend when you find somebody who is both spiritual and fun. Like they have the same desire to serve God and live according to his will and enjoy life and have fun and laugh and does that make sense?
Hmm.
Like that's a good combination. So
Yeah.
I value friends like that
Mhm.
we can have serious conversations with, and we can also crack up over a silly game if we want to.
Yeah. I'm not going to use the word slightly inappropriate because we're not ever inappropriate,
Yeah.
but
You're that friend for
silly.
me. Yeah.
Same.
Mhm.
That's what I was thinking along the lines of you're comfortable with,
Mhm.
because that doesn't happen with everybody. And I was thinking about that a couple of days ago. Um, there was a couple of women in a certain long ago era, and I encountered them both at the same time. We were in the same setting, the same group of people, and one of them I was comfortable with, and the other one I wasn't. And it wasn't that I didn't like her, wasn't that at all, but I just didn't feel that level of comfort. And
Mhm.
I'm not exactly sure if it's something that the other person does that puts you at ease, or if you just naturally feel
Mhm.
more comfortable around people than others. But yeah, I would say exactly what you did, that you have the same values and the same goals in life, and you can talk seriously about those, but you also know that there's times that you don't, you just want to laugh and be
Mhm.
silly and just be real. So
Yeah. You don't have to feel
realness.
so guarded or spend the rest of the day wondering if they're
Yeah,
thinking
that's a good
things
way of
about
putting it.
you.
You're not worried after you leave their presence. You're not doubting yourself all the time, or having and feeling like you have to call them and say, I didn't really mean this. You didn't take it that way, did you? Not to do
Right,
that.
right. Exactly.
Okay, just a couple more.
Okay.
Here's an ouchy one for me. What do you complain about more than anything else?
Just one thing?
Just pick one.
Just one thing. Um, Probably it always comes back to feeling like I have no control over a situation. So I guess I like control. And if there's situations where I always feel like I'm the one waiting or we're doing things according to, this is going to sound really bad. I know. I'm just trying to think back of some of the things that I get aggravated with, like in marriage or whatever.
Mhm.
I always feel like it's because I don't have control over the situation. Somebody else does, which
Mhm.
is a horrible thing to acknowledge, but probably the bulk of my either that or I don't like being cold or late. So, or rushed.
Yeah.
My list is getting longer.
I probably say more than any, like verbalize, I hate being cold. I probably say that, like
Yes.
that's my verbal complaint more
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah. I'm cold.
But
It's cold in here.
as far as a serious complaint, probably I complain when I don't get John's attention.
Yeah.
And
Okay. I got to add that one too. Not John's
yeah,
attention. I don't need John's attention.
good to know. You're not worried about John's attention. Okay,
Uh,
Neil's attention. All right. Last one. What would you like for your life to be like in 10 years?
um, I would like for Neil and I to be stronger than ever, for me to have solid, intimate relationships with my grandchildren, like
Mhm.
close, and for this business that we're getting off the ground to be stable and productive and for the relationships in my life to continue to have grown and for some of the weaknesses that I'm still working on to maybe my New Year's resolutions will finally look different in 10 years. I could keep going. How about you?
In 10 years, I will be 66. Um, I wasn't looking at you, but I heard you whistle. And I'm going to assume it's because I look good, not because that's a large
Absolutely.
number. Yeah.
Because you look
Um,
26.
yeah. So I would like for John to still be here. Of course, thinking about grandchildren as well, that Jackson will be 18. We ran into a woman at the baseball field practice the other day, and and I've heard this before, but she said, you really need to enjoy those grandchildren right now while they're little, because as soon as they can drive and as soon as they have a phone, they're going to not care about you anymore. And I've heard
Oh,
that before.
ouch.
Yeah. And I kind of know where they're coming from, because, you get to be a teenager, and
Hmm.
there's other things that you want to do besides hang out with your grandparents. But I would like to have like exactly what you're talking about. Jackson will be 18, Emmy will be 17, almost 17, and I'll have two 13-year-old granddaughters. So they'll be older. Um, I want to have the kind of relationship with them where they will come sit next to me at the bar in my kitchen and we'll have a brownie and laugh about things. And I think that to me is probably the biggest one, to have that kind of relationship with them. Be kind of difficult because some of, we don't live right next door to any of them. Livy's the closest, and her little sister will soon to come. But, I don't know if we'll still live here or they'll still live where they all live. But I realize that takes effort on our part to make sure that we're around them and keep developing that relationship. My grandparents didn't live close. My dad's, they both lived in Fort Worth and we lived in Central Texas. So they were about
Same
three
here,
and a half
yeah.
hours away. So to me, I didn't really have that. I didn't think I missed it necessarily because I didn't know what it meant. I loved them, but I didn't really crave to be with them. But now I feel a little bit different about that. So definitely grandchildren, and of course to have close relationships with our children. But I hope that and pray that John will still be enjoying what he does, which he loves. He just loves what he's doing and working on making the Bible real and the Bible history come to life. And I hope we'll still be able to, I hope Israel will still be there. Because, the way things are right now, it's a little scary to think what might happen. So,
yeah, good
anyway,
ones.
yeah. Well, that was fun. Thanks. All right. Do you have something good for me?
I do. It's a recipe.
Okay.
It's called I wrote it down so I don't get it wrong. Caprese Caesar pasta salad. You may run across it because it's your girl Half Baked Harvest blog that you like. But I was watching a video by the girl that does Acre Homestead, and she made this salad and it looked good. And I ended up making it for some event that we did. And I've made it like 3 times since then because it is so good. But it has those little bow tie pastas in it. And you make the Caesar dressing, but it doesn't have anchovies in it. But it is so flavorful. And then it has those little fresh mozzarella balls.
I love those.
Little cherry tomatoes, fresh basil, and then I drizzled a balsamic glaze over the top of it.
Yum.
But it is so good. It is so good. So I'll share that recipe in the group.
Okay, sounds good. Mine, sorry, I'll put it on the floor, is this book, A Shepherd Looks at Psalm 23. You've probably read it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And it's a little tiny book, but as I have papers everywhere, and if you flip through it, you can see that I have starred and underlined and marked things all the way through it. But it's a man named Philip Keller is the author. And he was a shepherd, a literal shepherd of sheep. And he takes a look at Psalm 23 and kind of explains what some of those phrases mean. We read it. That's one of those things we memorize when we're kids. But it makes so much more sense when you look at it from the standpoint of an actual shepherd and how he knows his sheep. And it's such a good book. And it only takes, you could read it in a couple of days or even in a day if you read really fast. And it just, so much insight. I pulled it out thinking that I wanted to find a quote from that, but then I got to reading in it and thinking I just need to read the whole thing again because there are some great quotes in it, and I'll probably use it later. But anyway,
that'd be a good one to keep in your car for those waiting moments. Instead of reaching for your phone, just reach for that book and read a little bit more.
Yeah, good idea. And then have people honk at you when you're not going when you're supposed to be going. Happens to me all the time. All right. Philip Keller, A Shepherd Looks at Psalm 23. That's my something good for you.
Very nice.
You have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Well, it's been a fun episode. I enjoy it always. I mean, we didn't chit chat ahead of time, but it felt like we got to chat during the episode. It's kind of like a bonus chit chat session with a purpose.
And some of those questions, friends, listeners, if you want to answer some of them, we'd love to hear your answers over on the Looking Up page. So let us know what you think. I know later
someone,
on, because I didn't have any prep time, I'm going to be going, oh, I wish I'd said this.
yeah. Well, somebody not too long ago, um, actually listened to the other table topic episode and said, can you post the questions that you asked? And that meant I was going to have to go back and listen to the episode, and I didn't have time that day, and then it lost me. But I'm going to keep this stack right here and make a list of them, and I'll post those next week.
Okay, then they can just answer underneath that. Good idea.
So we thank you for joining in with us and listening and sticking with us to the end. And we appreciate all of your support and your friendship, because we do really feel like you're our friends out there, and we enjoy getting to meet you. And we would appreciate if you'd share the podcast. We like to do what we can to encourage Christian women of all women everywhere with the things that we talk about. So we would love for you to share the podcast and tell people about us. And it's good to see your face. I'm glad you're home.
Thank you.
And until next time,
Keep looking up.
love you.
Love you too.